now we're on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Welcome, everyone, to the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees meeting today, Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. Following Robert's Rules of Order, I will now do a roll call of members present. Monica.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Nivea.
Here.
Tara is not here. Allison.
Here.
Shelby is not here. Nick.
Here.
Cliff is not here, and Liz is here. With a quorum present, we can now proceed with the meeting. You should all have a copy of the agenda before you. Are there any changes to the agenda? None? All right. Motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Paul? All
A
right.
second.
Nivea seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're good to go. Agenda stands as it is. All of you should also have received and read a copy of last meeting's minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? No? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along. Public comment? We don't have anybody for public
Did not
comment.
receive any emails that wanted to include any comment or information.
Okay, sounds good. Friends report. Blair, would you please read the Friends report?
I will add to the Friends report because at the time that I sent out the background packet, I did not yet have from them the April sales. Their basement sales were $1,160. Their sales at Books on the Alley or the store in Ramcat Alley were $1,343. Lobby sales at Walhalla were $192. Second party sales were $150. They did $181 in online sales and $7 through Cafe, the Clemson Area Food Exchange, for a total of $3,033 for April sales. And of course, then in the background packet I gave you all, they had done over 4,000 for the March sales. So a little bit down in April. I think they had pretty sure they had a Saturday sale in March, so that always helps. And then I think they have another one scheduled for June. So this next month's numbers, I don't know what May will be like yet, but June's numbers might be pretty good, especially with summer reading and all that kind of thing. I know the Friends are helping us again with summer reading this year. They are helping us with a few other projects. In fact, right now, I think I might have mentioned this at the previous meeting, they're really soliciting donations right now because I think those are down a little bit. And we kind of did a lot of inventory and weeding and that kind of thing when we didn't have as much that we could do during COVID. Of course, now the libraries are busy again. We haven't been doing that as much either. We are going to start scheduling. Most of my branches did inventory during that period right around and after Good Friday when we had our staff in service. So I think most all the branches have completed an inventory by now, and that may trigger another round of, we still get books in all the time, of course, so that may trigger another round of kind of making space and taking out some of the older and less popular, less checked out items. So probably have a little bit for them in terms of discards, but I know they are, trying to figure out how to get more donations in as well. So we're going to look at, maybe making it to where it's a little easier to bring your donations at Walhalla rather than just on a sale day or something like that. Try to not overwhelm the branches because they have so limited storage space and people want to bring more than a couple of boxes to, particularly let's say Salem or Westminster or something. I mean, there's just nowhere to go with them until even that same day when our courier Maddie can get around and pick them up. So that's kind of tough, But we need to try to figure out a way, hopefully, that we can get, help them out a little bit more. Because they are doing just bang up fundraising for us, and they're still working down there in the basement. I mean, there's some of them that come practically every day, and they've been pretty faithful. I mean, they kind of come and go too. We've had some that have been out with surgeries and that kind of stuff. Well, now they're right back. I mean, they're really faithful. So we've got a really good group of Friends, I think. And they are pretty active. I mean, they've been helping us with some other special projects. We're struggling a little bit to get our math kits out, only in the sense that we're still waiting on some materials and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's supply chain or what it is. We're still waiting on a little bit on our materials, but very near future, we'll be putting out math kits, and very, very similar to like the literacy kits and storytime kits that we already have.
That's awesome.
We'll be putting those out pretty soon, so, that was one of their projects, so they're helping us out with some other things. And so they, they are remaining active and very strong right now.
So I'm so curious, how are they involved with, say, Cafe 313 or Clemson Area Food Exchange?
I think
Cafe?
I think it's just Cafe. That's a fairly new relationship, and I
Okay.
don't even know exactly how it works.
Yeah,
If it is just at the one pickup location at 313, or if they're doing it, where people can pick it up. They send it and they can pick it up my daughter, I'll have to check with her on that because she actually volunteers with Cafe, so I'll find out.
okay, because that's food, so that's why I'm curious how books, like, what is the relationship there?
They do more than just food.
Well, I know, they do some other craft stuff, but I'm curious how the library plugs into
I'll
it.
have to check on that, because I think that's a relatively new thing. I don't even remember seeing that in earlier reports. I don't remember, maybe that was kind of a one-off. Honestly don't know, but I will check
That's
and
cool.
report back to you all on that.
Yeah, okay, that's
I
cool.
pick up mine here.
That's a good question, I was wondering that.
Yeah, that's a great connection.
I pick up mine here in Walhalla, and I've never seen them offer books or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's a new thing, so that's cool. I'd be
Yeah.
curious to know how that
Yeah,
works.
I've gotta find out how that even works, or if they just have it at certain spots like you're talking about and people have to see it, or they make it available. I mean, I know they're doing more online sales. It could be that they're actually telling people what they have online. I mean, my daughter volunteers with them, and my wife gets a lot of stuff from there. I haven't heard about it yet, but I'll ask my daughter about it and see, because like I said, she volunteers when they do the packaging and all that kind of stuff for the various locations, so she's right in with them. I'll have to ask her about that and see
Okay.
if she can tell me. Or I'll see the friends Thursday, I can ask them about it either way, but I'll report back to you all about that.
Sounds good. All right. Is that it, Blair?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, committee reports. Finance is our Monica and Allison.
And while we didn't meet as a committee, I did meet with Blair on May 18th just to review some items. Many of you probably read in the paper where the raises have been brought down to 2% at this point. A final read on the budget will be at the June board meeting. Two things I was concerned about, I approached Blair on, and right now we're on a wait and see with it, is one with the ADA ramp improvement. There might be some special supplemental funds that the administrator has that is going to support that. And then also, it looks like possibly the last month of the next fiscal years, that June month might be technically unfunded with the grant for the social worker, but there, how things are, it might be able to be carryover and things like that. So really, I think for the social worker position, next year will be a more focused year for making sure that she gets incorporated in the overall budget would be the goal that we have there. Otherwise, I did not have anything else to report at this time.
So I'm curious, because in reading through the bylaws and our Constitution and the American Library Association, we as a committee, as a body of people, a board, we can also look to raise money. We can go out and get money. So do you know how that would work? I mean, how's that, Blair, do you have any?
It hasn't really come up very often in the past. I know when you had mentioned it to me, I think I responded that there certainly used to be a capital projects committee here on this board, back when we really were looking to, get the penny sales tax in 2014, and even projects before that. I mean, always leading up to the hopes of a new Seneca Library improvements in other locations. That kind of got disbanded, probably one iteration ago for this board or whatever, because there's no capital funds. So, that kind of went by the wayside. I'm assuming you could do it one of two ways, and I'll do my homework on it, of course, but, you could either do it in such a way that you would work with the Friends and raise money that way, and it would go through them, so that wouldn't, it would be, people would be more comfortable donating to a 501c3, that kind of thing. Or we've accepted some major gifts in the past, like the Nettles Fund, that have gone straight into county, but of course, they'll earmark it for us. It doesn't get just thrown into the county general fund. And you know, depending on who gave and when, that can also be possible. So, I mean, I think depending on how you wanted to approach it, like I think I mentioned, you know, we'd have to sit down and talk about the details in terms of, and of course, if we have somebody now that's doing, you know, maybe eventually can advise us on some of this stuff, how to do giving and that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's certainly a lot of potential for it down the road, but I think I'll have to check on exactly how you would want to do that, in terms of like how the county wants to do it and how comfortable the Friends are. But I think you could do it either of those two ways, and it would, you know, it would be okay. You know,
But I feel like-
it would be for us.
Okay, and I appreciate that, but, and I obviously need to reread some of the stuff I've been reading, because I feel like there are other ways that we can raise money. I feel like we are given the responsibility to help fund our libraries. So I feel like there are other ways, whether we seek scholarships or, however, I mean, I don't know what that means, actually. You know, if we can we have an event? I mean, that's not, I'm kind of counting on you too. You're the finance committee. But I feel like because we do need things, and we are concerned about money that comes to us, I would really like to investigate that avenue more to see if we can bring money in. I mean, I don't think we have ever done that, you know, or this group of us.
It may not even be copacetic. I know it's unusual. I mean, I know for the most part, like, you know, if you look at some of the materials that I gave you all this evening, like from the state library, it'll talk about how the board's responsibility is basically just to, you know, have it put in the budget, approve the budget and that kind of thing. And of course, in our county, that doesn't really apply. There are other other libraries in other counties that are just strictly county department, and they're kind of in the same boat, you know. I mean, you all certainly could, I guess, go to a county council meeting or have some kind of input, but for the most part, the budget we're gonna get is the budget we're gonna get. And then, of course, you know, take into account state aid, so, you know, I've alerted you all in the past, like if we were gonna seek an increase in state aid or that kind of thing, you know, that obviously you might be able to have input on that with our local delegation and that kind of thing. Fundraising, as far as like the board doing it itself, that is something I can also do a little research on for you as well. I can even check with the state library. I mean, they have somebody that basically handles library boards and friends groups and all that kind of stuff. That's their specialty, and I can check with them and see, okay, is that even a problem? Can you do that under state law, whatever? I mean, I know it says in the bylaws, but I think that's more of like with the capital committee and that kind of stuff. I mean, their mindset of doing, you know, raising funds for big stuff. But I can certainly check on that.
Yeah, I'd like to just
I'll
check, I'd like
on
to
that with
just,
the state library as
check
well,
our
and just
possibilities
see.
out.
That's the place to start probably, is with the state library, and just see like, okay, is that even something we can do? And then we can work through the nuts and bolts after that.
okay.
With the idea of that being aimed at large capital projects or general?
I don't know, I just feel like that's an avenue we really haven't
Sure.
checked out yet.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I know that, you know, we're looking at a handicap ramp that probably needs some funds along the way, or maybe there's more projects that Blair and the other 4 libraries need. I just feel like if we have the ability to do that, it'd be kind of nice for us to check that out.
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just figuring out how the library can accept the money and where
Okay.
it has to go.
Okay.
My gut tells me that Friends account is probably the right way because it's already set up. The county can't accept money. The state,
Gotcha.
like Clemson University can't accept money. We have a foundation that accepts the money and then
Okay.
routes it all the way back.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but I mean, the Friends are basically set up like a foundation for the library to an extent.
Friends are
So,
501c3,
Right.
and you have, you know, all of the safeguards in place and everything for, you
Yeah.
know, the whole tax thing
and I know they've always talked about, you know, as different people come and go, other ways they can fundraise besides just the book sales and some of the things they do. So
Maybe we can.
I think connecting with them would
I
be
was
a
gonna say, and it
big.
could be honestly that we just kind of do it through them,
Okay.
you know, but they have our help and input more.
Sure.
Like if there was
Ideas.
a project that you all as the board identified, we could go to them and say, okay, we appreciate all you're doing here, da-da-da, and we will help you obviously, but can we also find a way to fund this project?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
might actually be the easiest way to do it, because I think then there's no conflict of interest, there's no ethics problems, there's no anything like that. I think it's just then the board has a closer partnership with the Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
Blair, I remember a year ago, January, at the annual meeting, there was is it a staff person or friends, or is it a person that wears two hats, that I thought used to work at Clemson as a big major fundraiser? Or am I?
That was the former Friends president, Jean Mercer.
Okay,
Jean Mercer, she was the former Friends president, and a number of years ago, she had done major gifts at Clemson. She had worked, I think, to get money for like the Brooks Center
okay.
and that kind of stuff. She is not currently active with the Friends anymore. I think she's doing a lot of traveling and that kind of thing. I have not spoken with Jean recently. I don't know that all of the Friends were necessarily comfortable going in that direction
Right.
necessarily. I think they do want to kind of stick to the book sales, but they are pretty innovative. Nancy Churchwell, particularly their treasurer right now. I mean, I think if we approach them with something like that, I say we, but I mean you all approach them with something like that, and certainly I can facilitate. I think they would be receptive to it. I think they would love, as you mentioned, to find, ways to go ahead and raise more money and really kind of be able to, I know they've asked me before about larger projects, and then I know it's something that they can work on. And they certainly are raising a lot more money now than they have been even just in the last couple of years. I mean, when they went to weekly book sales and when they really got, right now they're taking in more, certainly this last report in April, but I think overall, percentage-wise, they actually are taking a little bit more money in down at Ramcat now than they are even making on the book sales. So, that's that and some of their online stuff and working with this Ivan guy that they have that is their, for online and everything. I think, they're finding ways to do it, but I don't think they would object to kicking it up to the next level or we didn't need something like that.
So would you loop in Allison, and Monica when, with the Friends, we don't need to all know that, but since they're finance,
I
is that okay with
think,
y'all?
that we can work through the finance committee, and of course, then that we don't have to worry about, again, meeting of the whole and all that kind of thing, whatever. I can work through the finance committee.
Okay.
Maybe even eventually get them together with the Friends president, Friends treasurer, and that kind of thing. They just had their board meeting. They always have our board meeting the Thursday before ours.
Okay.
So they won't have another one also until July.
Okay.
But, in the meantime, you could approach them and maybe if that's something they want to need to vote on or have to vote on it for their own membership, then they could even possibly do it by the July meeting if we have something in place.
All right.
Well, let me just have a disclaimer, though. I have not done official fundraising ever. So,
okay.
I'm good with books and
Okay.
numbers and stuff like that, but I've not, and I know she's just starting a
Just
new
starting.
role.
So, I'll
But I
definitely
can
help.
work.
But you all, being the finance committee, we can
Right.
work together and I'll be
Right.
happy to do that. I'm a good social butterfly.
And I think
So happy to
understanding
help.
the logistics,
Oh, I can fly him.
before figuring understanding the logistics and how you could accept the money
Sounds
is
good.
kind of that first step, I think.
That sounds
To
great.
then start targeting who and for
Okay.
what.
Well, and for what
Yes,
first,
right.
then
Who and
for
for
who.
what,
Because
yep.
some people have pet projects or interests, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and like the ramp, that's a,
Yeah.
very specific, could have a name type deal that could be vastly different from another type of, so.
Sure.
But
sure.
making sure we knew how that could be processed first,
Okay.
I think is key, so.
That sounds great. Everybody good with that? Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so next is policy and personnel, and that's Shelby, Nick, and Tara. And Nick, I guess you're it.
As far as I know, there's no updates outside of the director's report.
Okay. Building and grounds, that's Cliff and Paul.
Yeah, yes, I have no update, because to be honest with you, I haven't gotten in touch with Cliff this month, but I hope by next month too.
Okay.
Yeah, because that hasn't totally come into focus what my responsibilities are, but hopefully by
Right.
next month, Cliff and I'll have something good to add.
Well, and that's good, because we'll get through ours, and then I'm gonna mention something about that. So community relations is myself and Nivea. And I have some things that I can report, because I've just been kind of doing it ongoing. So I'm gonna read it. I'm continuing to attend all the chamber functions representing the library. All of us can do this, actually. We are all ambassadors of our library system. The chamber has Coffee and Commerce on the first Thursday at Gather Uptown from 8 to 9 with a presenter, and the same presenter the following Wednesday, the second of the month, at the Westminster Depot. I attend both those every month. Chamber Chatter is held at Cafe 313 at 8 a.m. the last Wednesday of the month. I attend that as well. It's a true networking arena. The Nonprofit Vitality Committee meeting is on the third Wednesday from 10 to 11 at various nonprofit places, and a topic relative to nonprofits is discussed. This is primarily where I started being a chamber representative, us being a nonprofit. The Business After Hours, which is being held tonight, we're kind of missing a good one. It's held the fourth Thursday of every month. It's a great opportunity to mingle with folks and really promote our library. So far, our library is collaborating or will be collaborating with the Family Engagement Center, the NOLA Network, Piece of Pie, and Chamber Events. So yes, so to follow up with what you were saying as well, I think, and I feel going forward, we will all get together as committees. I think that's important, that we come to a chamber, come to a meeting with something to report. But that just means we need to touch base in between. And that can be in person, obviously, email, Slack, whatever arena you want to do it. But I think going forward, personally, just myself, I would like to see us be a more active board versus a passive board. Those are just my thoughts. Totally personal, nothing chair related. All righty, so now we are at the chair's report. All right, so here we go. As you can see, I've given each of you a folder with lots of information related to our local library system and our state system. You can obviously read all this at your leisure. I would like to address several items, though. So Blair, this is a question for you. How do we go about setting a time and date for our board training? We've talked about that, but how do we go about setting that to make it official?
It has been as popular saying is lately, it's been a minute
Yeah.
since we've done any kind of official board training. But the last time it was done, what we ended up doing was scheduling the training over 2 times. So you could have, 4 at one and 4 at another and catch up with the other one or something. Have 3 times if we have to, have 3, 3, and 3, but obviously, so you don't have, so it's just training. I can also check with I was gonna say the clerk of council, but more than likely, I'm gonna need to check with the county attorney and find out if there's a way that we can do it all at once and it not be considered a meeting.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
don't know that we can do that, but I can check on that. That would certainly make it easier, but I just don't know if that's even possible.
Okay.
The way we did it last time, we had it split over several sessions so that we didn't have everybody there at once. And that may be what we have to do.
Okay.
I'll double check on that for you. But other than that, it's just finding a time where we could get everybody together and then, there's a couple of options. Honestly, I as staff liaison could just give you more information than, of course, in the director's report I can mention, but yes, I also passed out a small folder that's just for, your benefit, board orientation. We can do it that way, or we can also get, I don't know if I could get them up here. They are traveling again now that some of the COVID concerns are not as big anymore. I might be able to get somebody up here from the state library also that does training. And I can check with them on that. They do actually have somebody that does board training. It may be that it's just a Zoom session and then, we do that over successive times, but that's a little less, problematic in terms of the quorum and whatever. Or it can be like they can come up and we can do it, one morning session, one afternoon session or something like that, or an early evening session for people at work or whatever. That's, to do that enough to where I can get them up here one day from Columbia, I guess, and make it worth their time to come up for one day. We'll check on some options, but those are the ways we could do it. We either would do just training, that I could provide to you all based on that material, because it wouldn't just be me telling you stuff. Or it could be, somebody from the state library. They have a lot of materials online, that kind of stuff. I did provide you all with some of the really, really basic stuff. But if you wanted, more, in-depth training and that kind of thing, I'll check with them and see what they have available. I know there's some stuff that they provide, like online and all, that y'all can do on your own, and again, that avoids the whole business of a quorum, but, like from United for Libraries and that kind of thing, which, is the ALA's organization for like friends and boards and that kind of stuff. And I know they provide some stuff from them free. Basically, I can just get the login for it, and then y'all can log in, and then you can do the training on your own. That's an option, and then you can do it when you have time.
Can I just interrupt, because I'm so tired of hearing the word quorum, and I'm hearing it a lot everywhere lately. Okay, I know it's the group, more than half is quorum, I get all that. If we publicize the meeting, allow the public to be here, what do we care if it's quorum? I don't understand what's the objection to having a group meeting so we all hear the same thing on the same day, the same way, instead of one possible session accidentally omitted a piece of it or whatever. And to me, it's just having the public available.
Well, I think.
Or am I misrepresenting
No,
what?
I think, obviously, there are rules in place, on the county level. Like you all are supposed to have so many called meetings, or
Right.
like regular meetings. I'm supposed to publicize those, put the information out, and that kind of stuff. We are, supposed to have, I think at least 4. We have 6, that kind of thing. And I think as long as it was held in this chamber and it was, open to the public, I don't know that would be a problem if we called it a training session instead of an actual meeting. But I will check on that for you. I will get clarification on that, because at least in my time doing this, both as, just staff liaison, but not the director, under my predecessor, and then now as director and staff liaison, it's just, unfortunately, everybody is very, very cautious about open meeting laws and that kind of stuff. And I mean, it is easier if you're doing training and you have some questions that are maybe a little more candid and that kind of stuff, and you don't want it on the record. It's easier to do it, in the smaller groups, so that it is not a public meeting, that it is training, that's not like you're doing anything that, is in secret or whatever. All you're doing is providing information.
And you're not taking a vote. I think that's you
Well,
must have a
Right.
quorum to take a vote.
Right.
And it has to be a public called meeting. It can't just be, take action, you're right. And because I was going to say, I went to the Seneca Strategic Planning meeting in March as a public. You know what I mean? And so, and the whole council was up there doing their things. Now we were quiet as church mice, you know what I mean? But, we were there and.
And I know, the, county council has their budget retreat or whatever, and I think that is open. People can come to that. Of course, again, like you said, there's no time for public comment and that kind of thing. I mean, as opposed to, let's say, a regular meeting or even like a committee meeting or that kind of thing. They don't provide time for public comment and that kind of thing. But I mean, I think, just to be brutally honest about it too, I mean, in the past, just getting people to come to a regular meeting was struggle enough.
Right.
And so now with a much more engaged and active board, we have the opportunity to do those kind of things again. And I'm certainly happy to, run the ground how all that should work and needs to work, and I will get that information to you.
That sounds great. Thanks, Blair.
Terrific.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, so in regards to the information that I provided each of you, there's a lot of stuff. I've had lots of librarians, Tucker in particular, help me make all the copies and collate and put things together. And so my thought, I'm just going to read this, it'd be easier than I go off on a tangent. I think it'd be a good idea if we each utilize the library of your choice and learn something new. Our library system is a vast amount of resources and has opportunities for every citizen. It's up to us as the Board of Trustees to be familiar with those resources and opportunities and share them with each other. So let's start with each other. We can come to the next board meeting and share what we each have learned. So that's the goal of this. Is pretty much every class, every resource. There's just a plethora of information from the library that our library system offers in each of your folders. So I just thought it'd be interesting to try something new. I mean, I use the library a lot, but there's some stuff in here I had no idea about. And I really wouldn't necessarily use it, but I think it's good to know that we have it. And maybe try something new, because I feel like we are the ambassadors of our county library system. And it's just really good to know who we're representing and what we're representing. So I just thought it'd be just like something kind of fun to come to the next meeting and say like, oh, I tried that out, or I checked the app out, or something. I mean, what do you all think? This is not, I'm not dictating this, but I just thought it'd be a fun idea.
Well, I can just tell you from this far, and I think I told you some of this the other day, Liz. I was at my church women's group, and the young lady, Lindsay from Fostering Faithfully was there. And of course, they need things for their families to do, and again, they're on budgets and all that. Like, I knew we had the county passes, and I told her about them, but like this museum one. So like now I'm gonna have to reach out to her and say, hey, also, and she said she was gonna try to reach with you guys to find out more. She had just heard about some of these things. But yeah, I mean, just even people that are out in the community doing good, that need additional research, because again, I keep telling people, it's not your father's library anymore. I
No,
mean,
it's
you know,
not.
we're a community resource, and
Yeah.
a strong one.
Yeah, I know, I found that out I just found that out, that you can check out a pass from our county library system and go to the Children's Museum of the Upstate in Greenville. I mean, I wish I would have known that, if we had that when I homeschooled, I would have been through a lot. And you can check out a park pass, state park pass in Georgia.
Right. Well, I knew Blair had.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think it's really fun, we do a lot of cool stuff. All right, so I do encourage each of you to subscribe to and there's 4 things I just encourage you to subscribe to. The ALA, which is the American Library Association, the South Carolina State Library, our Friends of the Library email, they send out an email with all kinds of great information, and the Oconee County Chamber of Commerce e-newsletter, because it all has pertinent information to us as board members. And again, we're a nonprofit, so everybody on the board, even all staff, anybody that's, I guess staff and the board, anybody can go to a chamber event because you come under the nonprofit status of the library. So,
Well, we actually do pay, I mean, we pay.
yes,
The library does pay memberships every year, so you as
right,
probably, county appointed officials and also as, chair or as board members of our library, you're kind of.
Yes.
You may be double included, I don't know exactly how all that works, but.
Right.
The library does pay for its membership in the chamber every year, so we
Yep.
are official chamber members, and then that includes, whatever obligations or benefits that includes, that's basically for
Yeah.
all staff plus you as our board
yeah.
members.
I'm real involved with our chamber, and I just think it's one of the best networking arenas we have in our small county. It really does represent a lot, and so I think it's just a really good thing to utilize. So anyway, moving on, director's report, Blair.
Okay, I'll keep this very brief, just a couple of things to make you aware of. There are some things that I did point out in my printed, information to you all, so I don't wanna go too much over, anything else, but did wanna let you know, just some updates on some things. Starting that first week in May, facilities maintenance did, begin work on a nice project at our meeting room in Walhalla, and that is now complete. They took and closed in a small section of the meeting room there at our Walhalla branch that for the longest time was wasted space. It was a place that was slightly indented under the main part of the ceiling and all, and where they used to have an old pull-down projecting screen. We no longer use that for a long time, and in fact, for the most part, that whole corner became a place, that whole one section of the meeting room, if you come in the main doors, it was the back wall essentially, just a place to collect junk anyway. So staff started putting their heads together and talking about a way, and we got facilities maintenance over and kind of planned on how we could close in a portion of that, basically incorporating that little alcove that was wasted space. So now at our meeting room in Walhalla branch, there's enough room in that new storage area for all of our meeting room chairs, all 50 some of them or whatever. 7 or 8 of the tables that live in the meeting room, our smart board, and the maker cart that Darcy uses for a lot of programs. All that stuff is now in there. I mean, basically, when you come into our meeting room, the only thing that's there on a regular basis, like if she has story time or something and needs it all cleaned out, the thing that she's gonna have in there is one table for her various like scarves and other things that she uses in story time, and then a sandwich board that has her felt stuff on it, whatever, for story time. Those are the only things that now consistently live outside of the closet, just because there's not a whole lot of room left, and she does use them all the time. Everything else lives in the closet, so if, you know, we do have a group that's coming in that is not our library programming, like let's say an HOA or some other outside group that's using the library, just let us know what kind of stuff you want. I mean, we're not gonna set it up for you, cause you can set it up any way you want, but we'll probably pull the tables out so you don't feel like you're banging up the new doors and the new closet and chairs, and then we'll put them back for them. But yeah, other than that, now that room, I mean, we probably lost a tiny bit of square footage by enclosing that 3 or 4 feet of final space over there. But honestly, by the time you count us being able to get all the stuff that used to sit out in people's way off the floor and into that closet, it's basically zeroed out. And it's so much more attractive. They went in there and repainted, so now it's, you know, that the new wall has a kind of a dark blue color, not dark blue, but like pretty much matches our logo. It matches our branding colors. And then the rest of it is a kind of a nice gray now instead of that ugly dingy beige that we had before. So the whole room has really, I mean, they painted the doors, they really did a nice job on it. So that whole room is sort of cleaned up and has really, you know, improved. I mean, it's a nice meeting space. Now, obviously, it's not like they could expand the space and do anything with it, so we don't have any more room in there, let's say. It's not like we used to only have 50 people, now we can have 80 people. It's not like that. I mean, if anything, like I said, it cut a little bit of space, but it just really refreshed that whole room. And so with that, and in addition to that, over in the children's area, they have come through and created a small teen space. There's nothing special about it or that kind of thing, because again, we are talking about just simply working with our existing footprint. However, they did kind of take and move some stuff out of there and create a small space with a couple of cafe or like bar stool type chairs for teens if they want to go gather back there. They've moved all of our story time and literacy kits now into a new space there. They've got shelving now on the back wall where they could, you know, have that. And then we've added we used to have these sort of children's computers that preloaded with a lot of like games and software and that kind of stuff for kids called AWE. We had some a long time ago, but they became obsolete. We didn't have them for a while and that kind of thing. But the state library, I think it's part of ARPA funds, just recently went around to the libraries in the state and said, okay, how many of you want these? So actually through the state library, we've got 2 AWEs at our Walhalla branch now for children that have preloaded software on them, games, learning software, all that kind of stuff that the kids can use just on their own pretty much in the children's area. There's one for English and one for Spanish at the Walhalla branch. There is one for English at the Seneca branch, and there is one back at Salem again. Even our tiny Salem branch did have one at one point in time. There's just really, there never was one at Westminster, so there wasn't ever really a place for one at Westminster, and we didn't try to put one there. It really wasn't gonna work. There was not even any kind of, we can take a computer away and put that there or something like that. They've just never really had space for something like that. Even though Westminster is slightly bigger than Salem actually had a place for it before. It's right over kind of near the computers, but they had a special spot for it and a table and all that kind of stuff. Westminster just didn't, so we did not order one for them. We got 4, basically. 2 for Walhalla, like I said, there's one in English, one in Spanish, and then one at Salem and one at the Seneca location. So and those recently we were waiting for a little while until we got the improvements done at Walhalla before we put them in. I think Seneca and Salem have already had theirs. We shipped those up there to them a little while ago, and I think they've already been using theirs. But the ones in Walhalla actually just got put in, I wanna say last week. So, I mean, I don't even know if they've seen a lot of usage yet because they've only just recently gone in those now as well. So, slight improvements to our existing spaces. And I think down the road, that's what we're gonna have to continue to do. I mean, at some point in time, I would like to see an expansion of the meeting room in Seneca, like a physical expansion, but of course that requires construction funds and, you know, all that sort of thing. We about doing some different things up there at the Walhalla branch with, maybe closing in some space back in the back part of the stacks, if we can consolidate a little bit. We don't wanna get rid of any books, but if we can consolidate a little bit, kinda tighten up on some of the, you know, how much is on each shelf and that kind of stuff, whatever, that we might be able to make a small meeting space back, like if you go all the way back and here's our computers, here's the South Carolina room. We're talking about maybe a space over there, those last 2 rows in the 900s, maybe closing in that back section and creating another small space. A little bit bigger than our study rooms, but, you know, not as big as like our meeting room or, you know, anything like that. But just to create a place where you could have a meeting of 6 or 8 people instead of the study rooms, which are really limited to like 3 or 4. We do have 2 study rooms.
What is the upstairs in Walhalla, that upstairs area?
Well, the upstairs, there are 2 mezzanines in our main Walhalla building. That was built in like 1979, so long before ADA and all that kind of thing. Those were initially thought of that there would be like one, maybe like a children's area, maybe one would be like an adult reading area, something like that. Of course, you know, with ADA and all that kind of stuff, and the fact we do not have an elevator in that building, we only have staircases for both of those mezzanines, they are not usable public space. So the one mezzanine in front is the offices for the youth services staff. So Darcy, Arnold, and DJ Wharton are in that front mezzanine. That's their office space.
Okay.
And then the rear mezzanine is a combination of storage and also, since we now have a local history associate, we have some scanning equipment and all that the library recently purchased, and we're actually doing some like scanning of old board minutes and that kind of stuff, I think is what they're working on right now, but they've got some scanning equipment in that back mezzanine. So it's basically used for storage and staff space. Because again, you know, post ADA, it was never gonna be effective public space. I think when they built the building in 1979, that's what they envisioned, was that there could be, you know, like upstairs spaces for the public, but
Okay.
couldn't do that. And really, other than that update on, you know, some of the stuff with our buildings and everything, I would also just encourage you all to, really take a look at the website, and particularly the stuff for summer reading, because, we've got some fabulous programs planned. Actually, you could go ahead and register, for summer reading starting now on Beanstack. It started yesterday, I think. And then the official rollout of the program is June 1st. We do have a kickoff at High Falls County Park, which is gonna be a lot of fun. That's 11 to 12:30, I think. Have to check the calendar for that. And then it all ends up, of course, with a end of summer reading bash at South Cove. So again, with talking about the partnerships, we've had really good luck with both of our county parks. They're excited about it. They love this partnership. It gets more people to come out to the parks. They usually make the park free for folks that day, like they have for a number of years for us at South Cove, and I think High Falls is gonna do the same thing. They're gonna set up a 20-by-20 shelter for us to have a modified story time and some other fun stuff going on. They've got a putt-putt course out at High Falls that I didn't know anything about, but they're gonna open that up for everybody for free that day and let them play putt-putt. So gonna be some really fun stuff. Our first big program is the Pork Chop Productions is gonna do a little theater production on Friendship. That is at the Performing Arts Center. That's on the 6th, so Tuesday the 6th. I wanna say 11 o'clock, but double check the calendar. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then they've got a lot of other fun programs coming up. Our July big program is the 11th of July, which is Critter Keeper, which is always, the animals and things are always fun, for the kids. This year's theme is all together now, and they basically have taken a real fun summer camp type approach to that. So that is going to be, I think, really a lot of fun. Of course, you all are welcome to participate as well. Board members couldn't win prizes, might be a little hinky, but, you certainly are welcome to participate, and you would get your, completion prizes, which includes this year, now for the kids, they get a, certificate for pizza from Piece of Pie. So under 18, if you complete your 600 minutes of summer reading, you get a certificate for a piece of, for pizza, and a piece of pie. But for everybody, including the adults, that, at least as far as we know, I mean, the kids get to do the whole walk around the stadium and all that kind of thing, but kids and adults both complete 600 minutes of summer reading and you get a special pass to a Greenville Drive game. And actually, Reedy Rippet, the mascot for the Greenville Drive, is gonna be at the kickoff at High Falls.
Oh, wow.
So in addition to all the other fun stuff, we're actually gonna have, Greenville Drive's mascot out there, Reedy Rippet will be out there at the High Falls, kickoff event.
When is the kickoff? When?
I wanna say it's the first, but I don't have that calendar in front of me, unfortunately. In fact, I meant to bring copies of the calendar and stuff, all that stuff for you all tonight too, and it just completely slipped my mind, but if you just go to our main site, and then actually now we've inserted a heading specifically for summer reading. You just click on that heading and it'll take you directly to the summer reading page. Has the calendar on it, the cute little video that Darcy and DJ did. If you haven't seen that yet on our YouTube channel or whatever, you can get it right from the summer reading part of the webpage. They did a very good job on that video. It's really cute. They just completed their school visits. They visited, I want to say, 7 this year of the various elementary schools. Saw, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think over 2,000 kids, and presented to them. They did a really cute program as Elephant and Piggy. There's been some pictures I know posted on our social media, so check that out on our Facebook page and that kind of thing. But yeah, so they've just finished, I want to say yesterday was their last school visit, but they have made it practice the last couple of years now to try and go do programs and visits at as many of the elementary schools as would have them. And I want to say it was 7 this year. I could be mistaken on that, but they just finished up yesterday, and yeah, they went to Kiwi Elementary, Walhalla Elementary, Northside Elementary, Westminster Elementary.
They went to Jensen Brown too.
They did come into James and Brown, and somewhere else, 6 or 7. I may be wrong on the number, but anyway, quite a number of kids and teachers and whatever here in Oconee. They got like a real live presentation and program from Darcy and DJ to encourage the kids to come to summer reading. So really cool stuff. Definitely check it out. It's for kids and adults, and again, you all can participate. You wouldn't get registered for the big prizes for end of summer, of course, because don't want to have that going on. But other than that, you all are certainly welcome to participate. You would get the Greenville Drive. Have a special day for the whole completion of summer reading. Other counties that are contiguous to Greenville have been doing this for a little while: Spartanburg, Anderson, Pickens County, whatever. We had thought about it, but hadn't really done it in the past because we were like, well, we're one county removed, and I don't know how many people would go. There's a lot of people around here that do go to the Drive games, and so we reached out to them this year, and they were super excited about the partnership. They sent us all kinds of promotional material. Like I said, Reedy is coming to the kickoff, and they're sending us passes for everybody that completes.
Really cool.
It's fun to go to the Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
drive
that's
games,
cool.
drive games are a lot of fun. We haven't been as much lately, but I think we're gonna try to hit a couple of games this year. So, that's it for the director's report.
Okay, we get to just segue right on into old business, strategic plan. Do you want to catch us up on that, Blair?
Okay, I did put in your background packets the sort of what I'm calling the final draft of the strategic plan. Now, I know that we had discussed in the past about doing a public listening session. I am still open to that if the board wants that, but we sort of started putting our heads together and we realized that with the big push that we've had for so many community partnerships, with Liz going to the chamber, with Monica and myself being part of Healthy Oconee Coalition, with us having our cultural outreach committee, which is our Hispanic group that is in there, that does so many great stuff for us. Did Cinco de Mayo here back at the very end of April. We kind of have been asking along about a lot of what people want to see in the library and initiatives and that kind of thing. So those things are included in this, and I could have had another page or two where I did acknowledgements and basically talked about all the people we talked to, but I didn't really have that in here. But so, the strategic plan, this one, I will admit, compared to our last one in 2018 through 2020, is a little bit more, sort of open-ended. It does not include as many like numerical goals, very pinpointed goals and that kind of thing, because I think in large part, we as a staff and honestly, we as a society learned after, 2020 and COVID that, you definitely need to be strategic and you need to have a plan in place, but, you also need to be able to pivot and be flexible. And so we have, I think, as a staff, I did do a staff survey. I don't think I mentioned that to you all from the last meeting to this time. I did a staff survey, sent out a list of questions that I had gotten from another of my director colleagues downstate in Beaufort County. And we did a staff survey, got a lot of the ideas that are in here were directly from that survey. So in addition to the staff input that I had gotten from the managers earlier that I've talked about in the past, I sent a survey out to the whole library staff. And I got maybe half back, not a bad response. I think I got about 15 out of our 132 staff. That number includes me, so I wouldn't have written one for myself, but anyway. So I felt like we got a pretty good input on this. But again, that is for you all to look at. If you want time to look at it and would rather hold off the vote till the next meeting, we didn't necessarily put on here that we were gonna vote on anything. It was just, you all had it in your background packet, so you've had it for a little bit to review. And if you have any questions on it, about anything on here in particular, I'll be glad to answer them for you. But, and if you all feel like that we still need a little bit more input, certainly the staff is amenable to that. But I felt like, us really spending more time and listening, because I've asked questions. It's not just go to the meeting, show up, and here's some stuff and whatever. I pull people aside at Healthy Oconee meetings and a couple other places and really talk to them about things that we could do. Some of those things have been total serendipity. One of the things that I meant to mention in my director's report and I didn't, but is that the library is gonna be helping out with the Blue Ridge Community Center summer camp this year. We're actually gonna be taking and giving bags and books to all their summer campers.
Cool.
As of now, that's 15. Registration for that closes the 23rd, which is this coming Thursday. So the number may be a little bit bigger, but the library is giving a bag with free books to the kids at the summer camp at Blue Ridge Community Center there in Seneca, just like we're providing books for the Read to Succeed summer camp and the YMCA camps this year also. So
Nice.
just those kind of community partnerships and all of the opportunities that I had to pull people aside and talk to them, our staff, other members here of the board and all that have talked to people, that all went into the strategic plan. So that's where we are. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have over specific goals.
So, discussion. Anyone discuss anything about it? No?
Well, no. I feel real strongly for transparency reasons, and because we've said in the past that we're gonna at least have some focus sessions. I'm not saying having a group of them. I think we need to have one general one. Doesn't have to be real long or lengthy, but I think we owe it to the public. And I hear what you're saying, Blair. They don't know what you're doing already, so maybe it starts off with a mini 10 or 15-minute presentation is, here's what we're doing already, here's what we're saying we're gonna do now, based on that. Do you have anything that you feel we're omitting and not paying attention to? And it might not last but 5 minutes, but without that, I think you could get beat up in the public.
I hear you. Anybody else? Comments on that? We did say in our minutes that there will be a community focus group or listening session, and that the board will have input before May. So both those didn't happen.
Right.
So, I hear you on that, because I look at this as well and think, there's a lot I wanna add. But that can happen after we approve whatever we approve. So then, how do you all feel about having one community meeting that, I guess, Blair, that however you advertise that, you put that out?
Well,
in
and
the
quite
paper,
honestly,
or-
an alternative to that, and I realize, in person is always better than online, but honestly, an alternative to that also is just to put it out on our website. Here is the plan that we are looking at so far. We invite public comment and give it 15
Okay.
days or something like that, and I can even.
Put it on
send a
social media so
press
they know
release
to
the
go
paper,
there.
Social media, whatever,
Okay.
and get input that way.
How do you feel about that?
That's an alternative.
It's an alternative. I mean, you don't get conversation, but at least you gave the public a chance to have input, so.
It's hard. I'm finding, being on this board, it's hard to have conversation. I know you all know that that's my concern. It's hard to have a conversation when we meet every 2 months and just kind of go through this. So I hear you there, very much so. But if that is, I feel like we're kind of running out of time too, though I feel like we don't, we've been talking about the strategic plan for like a year or so. So I would like to solidify it. How does anybody else feel? What are your all's thoughts?
I think it's important to have public comment on a strategic plan, considering we're a public-facing institution. I think to put a strategic plan in place that doesn't at least have public input of some kind is not really serving the public necessarily. I think the online thing is a good compromise. I think it gives more access to people too. Because if we just have one date and time, like if we just did a one-off,
Right.
I mean, you're really limiting on the number of people that will have the ability to attend such an event.
Right.
And I know online is also limiting, not everyone has access to that either, but I think there's a larger swath of people that could participate in that type of conversation than one in-person.
If you do it right and get the information out, I mean, let's face it, if somebody wants to have input and they don't have even a phone or any kind of device, they can always come to the library and get on the computer and.
Yeah. Well, it could also be,
Or give us, we can have copies of it at the desk and say,
That's
hey,
what I
you
was
wanna
about
have
to
input, here's a comment form.
Okay.
So it could cover people that might come in but don't often check out our social media or that kind of thing.
All right.
that's also directly targeting people who
Wonder
utilize
if
the
we could do a
library.
special interest story with the paper to drum up interest about it. That's a thought too. I don't know if you work with anyone specifically with the paper or with the radio stations. Probably promoted on his station is GUC. I can't think of his name right now, but, he's pretty good in a lot of people.
WGOG?
Or is it GOG or GUC?
WGOG?
Yeah, the guy
Yeah.
that's out here.
Yeah.
Dick Mangrum.
Yes, thank you.
I was gonna say, I think between social media, we sent out a press release,
Yeah,
they'll put it in for us.
they'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay.
He'll always mention it, 94.1 The Lake will always mention it.
Okay.
The Journal will at least put it in a little blurb, they may not, I can do a story with them, but honestly, just a little blurb, and then say, here, go online to this place, or go to your local branch, they've got copies of it for you to review, and then you can make comments, and you have 15 days until whenever.
Okay.
Especially with summer reading coming up right now, it'll be pretty easy, we can even announce it in our various programs and say, hey, by the way, the library's doing a strategic plan right now, if you wanna have input,
Okay.
tell your parents or whatever, go to this place or go to the branches and look at the strategic plan. And by June 15th or whatever, then we'll say, so that time, and we have time to make any amendments that we need
Okay.
to it, and we can, vote on it at the July meeting.
But
Okay.
do we need to add our blessing to this before?
Is that
it
good,
goes to
Nivea?
public?
You're good with
Yeah, I
that?
think so.
Nick, you're good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Our blessing is what we
No, because we'll vote on the final product.
understood. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have, what Paul's saying, do we need to vote on this right now before it goes to the public? And it's still a
It doesn't
form
go
of
to
a
the public
draft.
with our stamp of approval, our blessing on it, is the reason I bring it
No,
up.
I honestly don't think, what we can do is say that the way I think to do it is to say, cause all we have on the agenda is that we were gonna talk about the strategic plan. Y'all were not gonna be required to take a vote on it if you didn't want to. Now, I think if you wanna vote to say, hey, we will release this to the public as it has been presented to us by the staff, with the knowledge that we are going to have you know, a public comment session for 15 days starting June 1.
Right?
So moved.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, for real.
That's a vote.
I like it.
There we go.
Yes.
So
She-
somebody make a motion to do
I
it.
did.
I'll second that.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
That
great,
makes
y'all.
it, yeah.
I like that too.
And you're right, that at least gets public comment out.
Yeah, I
You know.
think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, that checks that box.
Yeah.
Honestly. We will get some input, and, you know, they may just be fine with what we have, and then, but if they see something that maybe we didn't address, or if there's a constituency we didn't look at, or that kind of thing, there's an opportunity for them to be able to have that input.
Right. Rick?
Sounds good. All right, the second, is building projects. Blair, do you have any updates on building projects?
Unfortunately, at the moment, I really don't, particularly given what we now know about the, you know, budget and that kind of thing, I was not able to, I saw information from our county administrator, but I do not know at this point exactly what the plan is for the funding for the ADA ramp, which is right now our biggest project. I can say that I think we are going to have to make it a little bit longer term, to look at that expansion of the meeting room at our Seneca branch. That's gonna have to probably be a little bit more longer term, maybe even as you mentioned in the earlier part of the conversation, that there might have to be some fundraising, or maybe we can convince the county to do something and we can find a grant to do a match. I am still working with the county grants writer, Brittany Martin, also to see it could be possible. I know that county has been looking for, grants and things to be able to do some expansion of county buildings. So it is quite possible that, hey, we are a county building, it is quite possible that they could write us into that as well. So I don't know what all it is going to entail for the expansion of the Seneca meeting room. Frankly, the ADA accessible ramp at our Seneca library, I've got, you know, they've already done a good bit of engineering on that. I've got a final price on that, or at least an estimate. Nobody's bid out yet or anything like that. We haven't gone through the bid process and that kind of thing. That's probably the next step. And it's just knowing where that's gonna come from. So, I will again reach out to the county administrator and just see what other information I can find out and provide that to you all. Those are our biggest projects. I mean, we've certainly done smaller things, and again, included in the strategic plan is that notion of just trying to update and freshen some of our spaces. And really, we're already underway with that, whether it was the good work that Sue Andrus did on the outside of the Walla Library, kind of started to plan the project during our, staff day that we had on Good Friday back in April, and then it's completed now. She's put in a lot of nice plants and things, and some mulch out front of the Hall Branch. We're gonna do a little bit more landscaping down at our Seneca branch, the front area where the Lake and Hills Garden Club came in and did some nice, is still looking really good. The side of the building's looking a little rough, we've got some work to do there, and have been trying to work with county maintenance on that. Even the back part of the library there in Walhalla, I don't know if you all have seen it or noticed when you passed by it, but we got them to put in, riprap stone around the bed area there and that kind of thing, so, Walhalla's looking pretty nice. Our manager down at the Westminster branch, Leah Price, she's actually got some planter boxes that she's been doing down there and that kind of thing, so the front entrance of our Westminster branch looks a lot nicer than it has in the past. And I think we've got some opportunities to do some, again, smaller meeting space in Walhalla, perhaps even find a place for another study room or two down at our Seneca branch. There's a couple other things that we could do, smaller building projects that I think we can do within our existing budgets, or find, you know, money from the Friends or that kind of thing. Some of the larger projects, though, I'm just gonna have to continue to, you know, run to ground and try to find information for you all.
Sounds good. All right, new business. Info on ALA, United for Libraries Freedom to Read initiative. So again, included in your packet of information is information on the Freedom to Read. I highly encourage each of you to read through this. At this time, I'm actually going to read the Library Bill of Rights that's posted in all 4 of our libraries, not just for our sake, but for the sake of those that are viewing us right now. The American Library Association affirms that all libraries are forums for information and ideas, and that the following basic policies should guide their services. 1. Books and other library resources should be provided for the interest, information, and enlightenment of all people of the community that the library serves. Materials should not be excluded because of origin, background, or views of those contributing to their creation. 2. Libraries should provide materials and information presenting all points of view on current and historical issues. Materials should not be proscribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. 3. Libraries should challenge censorship in the fulfillment of their responsibility to provide information and enlightenment. 4. Libraries should cooperate with all persons and groups concerned with resisting abridgment of free expression and free access to ideas. 5. A person's right to use a library should not be denied or abridged because of origin, age, background, or views. 6. Libraries which make exhibit spaces and meeting rooms available to the public they serve should make such facilities available on an equitable basis, regardless of the beliefs or affiliations of individuals or groups requesting their use. And 7. All people, regardless of origin, age, background, or views, possess a right to privacy and confidentiality in their library use. Libraries should advocate for, educate about, and protect people's privacy, safeguarding all library use data, including personally identifiable information. On the back side of what I gave you is the freedom to read statement that I encourage all of you all to read. That's all I have to say on that. Any other comment or thought? All right, so now we'll go to update on grants for the social worker.
Okay, very briefly on this, I know we've kind of already brought it up. We have an extension on the social work grant until May of '24 now. So we're pretty much set for the coming fiscal year, the coming budget year. As Monica mentioned, there will be probably a short gap there towards the end. The grant ends at the end of May, so then we'll have about a month in there that we'll have to try to get the county to cover, and then of course we will be working with county administration and working on the county budget process, not of course for this fiscal year that's coming up, 23-24, but then for fiscal year essentially 25, to try and get county to fund it as a regular position. So we are gonna be working on that, but fortunately, the Center for Rural and Primary Healthcare, DHEC, did extend the grant for another year. So I have not heard a final approval, if you will, on that, but I sent them a new budget essentially, which was just a continuation. Because we had initially written the grant for a full-time position for Carrie, and she is part-time, we actually had a good bit of money left over, which is certainly to our benefit then, because we didn't have to have a complete refunding of the program for another year from the center. So it actually helps them out, and we did kind of expand it a little bit. What we actually did in that was write in some additional hours for our Spanish language assistant, Amy Saylor. So she's been working basically one day a week up to this point now, but we may be able to get her to where she can come in instead of about 5 hours, we're gonna try to double that. We actually wrote that into the new budget. So I haven't gotten final approval on that, but I think it's basically a rubber stamp. They haven't said anything to us, but on that. And also as part of that grant, the South Carolina Library Association is soliciting sessions, conference sessions, and the Center for Rural and Primary Healthcare contacted us that they want us and several of the other libraries that are involved to be part of a panel discussion at SCLA in October about this, social workers and healthcare initiatives in library. So we are gonna be participating, Carrie and I will be participating in that session as well. And then we had a transportation grant also with the Center for Rural and Primary Healthcare. That does wind down at the end of June. I think we have probably spent about 80% of the money so far. That was about a $5,800 grant that we got from them just to provide transportation to healthcare. Our primary, agency that's used it has actually been the Cancer Center, getting people back and forth to cancer treatments and things. And so they've been working with a couple of local, like, ride shares and transportation companies to be able, cab companies even, to be able to provide transportation to, healthcare. And then, we submit vouchers from them, and then we get those reimbursed, and then the grant, of course, pays for them. And we're about to wind that up, but we're hoping that, one of the things, we had a large group meeting, a collaborative, they call it, in March, I think it was, down in Columbia. And they actually kind of used us all as guinea pigs and basically had us all broken up into sessions, all the people from the different counties, directors, social workers, or if there was people that were doing telehealth and that kind of thing. And they've got, we're the second cohort, so they've got about 8 or 10 libraries, I think, in South Carolina that are working either on telehealth or on having a social worker or some initiative dealing with healthcare. And so there was a bunch of us, and of course, a lot of other people from not just libraries, but since the Center for Rural Primary Healthcare does other programs besides just the one for healthcare and libraries. They had a pretty nice group there at the collaborative meeting in Columbia. And so they had us going into separate rooms and coming up with different projects and things, doing some brainstorming. And then we all got together at the end of it and voted on it, and the one that seemed to get the most attention and get the most interest was for transportation to healthcare. So we're kind of hoping, even if our grant runs out here at the end of June, that it's not the end of the conversation, that we can hopefully somewhere down the road, maybe even do it through the state or eventual different grants and whatever, and kind of keep that going, even if it's not just Oconee County, but somewhere down the road, we're hoping that, one of the big barriers to healthcare, as we know, is transportation. So, while even if our grant comes to an end for a while and we're not able to do as much here in Oconee County, we know that through the center, I think it's not the end of the conversation. So we're hopeful that we'll hear more from them on that, and maybe one of their future endeavors or future fund, things that they fund is, transportation for healthcare.
Right on, cool. All right, nothing for executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we can adjourn the meeting.
Have to take a vote to go into executive session, so
We do have something.
Yes,
motion in a second.
yes. I'll motion.
Sorry.
Oh, I'll second.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Go into executive session.
And
we have a motion to come back into session?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, we're back in session. So now Blair, we're good, we're ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved?
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, y'all.
Second.
Yes, ma'am.